Hi, it's Retro Nerd Girl, and I'm broadcasting from the International Science Fiction Space Station. And today we're going to be looking at a brand new movie that I've never seen before. First time seeing it. It's Humanoids from the Deep. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. This movie. This movie. Um, ooh, so many thoughts coming at me all at once. It is schlocky. There's a lot of schlock. You can tell by the cover. It's really schlock. Depends on what cover you see, you get sort of an inkling of what this is about. The version I saw just so happened to left me a little bit clueless until the very end, which I kind of like and kind of wish that the actual movie did have those qualities. As I did watch a very clean version, if you will. So if you have any kids, get them out of the room for for this movie because this one is really it's really intense. It's one of those exploit movies. It is also a lot of fun. At the same time, schlocky. The special effects go from being terrible to excellent. So you get the gamut. You get the gamut of all sorts of different types of influences here. I do see where this movie has influenced other movies or other TV shows. And I'll talk about that as we continue. The movie stars Doug McClure as Jim. Vic Morrow is also in this as Hank, and Anne Turkel is playing the scientist. I believe her name is Susan Drake. It was released in 1980. It is an R-rated movie. So, like I said, the version I saw happened to be a very watered down PG version, which was cut in certain areas so that way I could watch it on YouTube. However, I have seen the other salacious moments that were cut out, and boy, is it intense. It is very intense. The directors here are Barbara Peters and Jimmy Murakami. He is actually responsible for directing some of the segments in Heavy Metal 1981 and also Battle Beyond the Stars that was released in this very same year. I would say the biggest fault of the film is definitely the money that they probably needed to make a lot of the costumes, a lot of the makeup, because some of the makeup is really excellent. It's really excellent. It's really graphic. It's very, very graphic. So someone is really testing out their skills. It is really good in many cases, in some cases not so good. So just to be honest and upfront about the kind of special effects we're seeing in this film. They're both good and bad. And the and some of it is cheeky as well. Cheeky. So the beautiful Anne Turkel plays Dr. Susan Drake, and we also have Anthony Pena playing Johnny Eagle, which is a very interesting character in the film. Here's a little answer to why there's so much nudity and graphic contents in this particular film. According to IMDb trivia, as the film was being finished up, producer Roger Corman felt that the picture needed more sex, nudity, and monster shots throughout. So he ordered all the scenes shot that showed the humanoids attacking, ripping off of other nubile young women. Director Barbara Peters, who was a feminist who hated the idea, refused to shoot those scenes. Corman said that he'd hire a second director and get her feedback before using the footage. She agreed to that, but Corman ended up never showing her the new footage or the cast or the crew. They didn't see anything until the preview of the film. Peters was furious, protesting that they were inserted purely to gratuitous nudity. And it's true, you can see it all through the film. Corman also edited out many of the scenes dealing with the plot and character development in order to make room for the nudity and more creature scenes. And this was a typical thing that Roger Corman would do. He would take control of the movies and make sure they were suited to his needs, which is fine. But if you're a serious director, this has gotta hurt to see an idea that you were nurturing sort of being taken over and twisted in a different way. And honestly, some of the things here that was changed in the film really actually hurt the film, but also at the same time makes it a cult classic. So who knows what it could have been if it was done the way that Barbara wanted it, but it seems to be doing well in the cult classics area of complete shock and, gratuitous. Peters actually wanted to have her name taken off the project, but Corman said he would do that, but only if she paid the expense of redoing the credits. And yeah, that's he's really cruel. She wouldn't, so her name stayed on the project. Many years later, Peters ended up watching the film on cable and admitted it actually ended up being a fun little movie. It is fun. It is fun, and that I grant you. So, time heals a lot of wounds. So, maybe she had some time to like cool off, but it's really tough when you're trying to create something of a pure idea and it gets changed. You know it's gonna hurt. Actually, the actress Anne Turkel, who was playing the lead, also said that she chose the film because it didn't have nudity or sex. It had an intelligent story behind it, but unfortunately, when she saw the preview, she said, of course, she hated it because it had all of those things. Even though, to her benefit, she wasn't required to wear anything salacious. In fact, her bathing suit is a full bathing suit and not a two-piece, and she's was given a lot of respect in that regard as a character. So choppy waters. Back in 1980, you had to play your hand right in order to get things that you wanted. So that was then, and a lot has changed since now. Director Barbara Peters once said that the humanoids were originally supposed to be played by the film stuntmen, but unfortunately, the stuntmen found the monster suits to be too goofy looking and refused to wear them. Additional actors had to be hired to perform that. Doug McClure plays a character by the name of Jim, and it opens with him going to the ship of Victor Morrow's character, Hank. And they are going on sort of going fishing, basically. This is a fishing community, and they do a lot of fishing. They pick a lot of salmon from this area. Uh, there is also a couple other boats, but immediately we have this interesting tension between a character by the name of John and also Vic Morrow's character that seem to be at odds with one another, and that continues out all through the rest of the film. On a different, so you think that the film is going to concentrate on Jim's boat, but it doesn't. It focuses on a different boat where a young boy and his father and another man is also fishing. And the father is really pretty cruel to this little boy. He's like, get this done. Haven't you gotten this done? What are you thinking? Get this other thing done. So you're really, really hoping that, okay, we know this is a horror movie. We're hoping that guy gets thrown overboard. But unfortunately, and I love this twist because it's even more horrifying. Unfortunately, the little boy is the one to get caught by the creature and dies. Um, this moment alone should have been really the most eerie thing to happen, but also suddenly, because of a mishap, the boat explodes. And so, with the boat exploding, and they don't realize that something happened, that there was an issue that happened that caused this accident. So everybody else looking on think it's an accident that's not connected to anything, just a freak accident. And so that's well written. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did there, and it looks really good. On the surface of it. This character of Hank he isn't a good person. The argument between him and the character of John is, it's about fishing territories. And so these guys, well, everybody in town has been fishing this entire area. and he is trying to get the town to fish in this area without any kind of repercussions. John is a native person and says he has the right to the land to fish there. It is amassing a legal strike against um, some of the people in the community. So it's causing a lot of trouble. People are angry. Vic Morrow's character is not very happy about it. So I do love that as well. We're talking about conflicts within the community and dealing with all those things. Very nice that they would put that in the story. I love it. I love it. There's a festival going on, and so one of the nights of the festival, they all get together in this barnyard or a little grouping area where they are drinking and having a good time and dancing. But all the while, just like only almost like a few hours before, everybody discovers their dogs have all been killed, which is really kind of wild. Like if you think about it, like what all of our dogs have been killed. And what I'm not showing you is see the reaction to this couple seeing a horrible, horrible sight of their dog completely just gutted. And I was gonna actually show it, but it's too graphic, so I'm gonna refrain from showing you the ultimately horrible graphic stuff. That, like I said, some of it is well done, some of it is hokey, and this was actually kind of terrifying. But if you look closely, it's kind of goofy. just, just saying. But if they show it just enough for it to like look terrifying, and it accompanies everything with really great music. And of course, the music is done by James Horner. So it's great music, and I believe it was he did like a little part of it, and then it was extended by some other person. And so this entire time, the music is very much going with the setting of eerie music, and it's really selling it. It really is selling it. There are lots and lots of jump scares along the way. So you have this tension that's building up. That's quite interesting. A lot of misfires. And so a lot of those misfires are actually kind of cool because those misfires are kind of telling you to stay on guard. And so when the bad things happen, you're still a little bit, surprised, but everybody's on edge. Everybody's on edge. Now, having that the fact that the dogs have all died, I think I would not be attending if my dog died, I would not be attending a festival. I would not be doing anything joyous for months and months and months. But these guys go right into let's go celebrate, let's, have a good time and have this, festival. Let's go fishing. They're just going as if nothing has happened. And it's really frustrating to see that kind of writing, but also, hey, it was the 80s. They were specifically looking to do one thing in this film, and that was entertain. They weren't really looking to give you a great deal of story reality. But and so I think we can let it slide for the sake of entertainment. I was actually okay. Now in the beginning there is this young lady, and I believe her name is Penny. Yes, her name is Penny, and Penny is a very beautiful girl. They show you that the creature is outside. You don't actually see the creature just yet, but you see that the creature is outside. And she is, extremely beautiful. So I was immediately said, "Oh, they're after young, beautiful women." Now, and that was kind of my first response. They were after the dogs, and then they were after beautiful women. And if I can really figure out why they attacked the dogs, is that I think they were attacking the dogs because they knew that the dogs would let everybody know that something was wrong in their area, would tip off people that they were nearby. So they killed all the dogs. And that's why I think they did. And told in a better way, in a, with a little bit more finesse, I think that would have been explained at some point to throughout the story. And so that was their first stage. And then they killed all the other animals like birds and they killed everything. They killed everything. During this festival, we meet this wonderful character, the Dr. Susan Drake, who works for this corporation who is trying to grow stronger salmon. And when we hear that there's experiments on salmon to grow larger and produce more, spidey senses are tingling that she may have something to do with this, or either she knows something about what's going on here. She is absolutely gorgeous. So it is great to have her in the film. In fact, every woman in this film is just absolutely drop dead gorgeous. This is Jim's brother and his girlfriend, and they're hanging out together. And I think this is why the creatures attack them. They find couples that are together, and so their job is to do one thing: separate the two. They separate the guys and kill them. And with the women, I won't tell you too much about what they do to the women. It's just too crazy. But the movie actually shows you a little bit more than what I was shown, which is actually kind of interesting. Seeing the movie from the point of view of seeing it as a PG cut down. They cut out all of the explicit scenes, and it was pretty interesting to find out more at the end what they were doing with all the women. For all you know, though, the way it was cut, the way I saw it, was that they were just killing the women because they were chasing them, and then they cut to another scene. So it didn't actually fulfill the visual of seeing everything that they were doing. And it's when you see the whole visual, it's like, what? Somebody filmed this? It's so ridiculous. And that's why this is like a probably a very prominent cult classic, if you will. And people will never forget it because for a lot of people, this is the first time that they had ever seen anything this wild. I'm sure it formed a lot of people's ideas about, relations between couples. And so we get this kind of trio growing here. We got John, we got Jim, and the doctor that kind of get together and say, like, we are the only ones who kind of know what's going on, or something's happening here. Let's investigate together. And it's great because they stick together and they can do much. Everybody else is like, my daughter's missing. I'm not going to look for your sea monster if it exists. And so it's like, don't you see that these things are matching? So it was actually kind of interesting. Everybody had their pets destroyed, and people were missing, and nobody connected the dots. I felt like that should have been something that the town had been a little bit smarter about. The doctor is really, she has a background in this. She knows a lot more than what she's telling. She has drawn a picture of what it looks like. She draws something that's close to what they saw, and are kind of like, well, why does she know all this information? So she's not telling everybody everything. And one other clue is that while they're on defense, she's just taking pictures all over the place, and they kind of bump into a little nest that these guys are having a little bit offshore, and they all attack. Now, see, look at how goofy this is with the arms. That kind of loses you. You're like, oh, I was almost there with you on this creature until I saw these arms. It just seemed too goofy in the long run. Then they find a girl in the seaweed. So many weird things. Like, why are they keeping young girls? And so um, uh, they're after them. They're after the women for, of course, mating purposes. They're looking for all females, and they're just attacking all the males to get them out of the picture so they can have all the females to themselves. It's quite funny, some of the moments. There's a scene here where a little girl needs saving, and the guy I identified as the bad guy, played by Vic Morrow, Hank, saves the little girl, and is also becomes a victim of the creatures that himself, and needs saving. his enemy this whole time actually comes by and save him, John. And so that was kind of an interesting moment. Sometimes you need to save your enemy. Now, back at the house, Jim's gorgeous wife, I mean, the girl is gorgeous, is under attack. She has a small baby, and then there are two monsters circling the house basically and terrorizing her. And my goodness, this girl kills them both dead, 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 dead. She is no joke. You don't mess with this lady. So I was like, wow, well, here we have in the 1980s a woman who can defend herself against sea creatures, two of them, by the way, and kills them dead. I was like, wow, so there you go. This is great. This is great. So you give and you take. You got a little exploitation, got a little girl power. What? Hey, that's a really nice mix there. And then you also have the doctor who's very accomplished, probably the smartest person in the whole thing, knows everything that's going on. So it was very, very well balanced, in my opinion. We do have the the unbelievable parts of this. It's totally graphic and totally cheeky, but it's also funny and fun. It puts a smile on your face. It really does. It's definitely a horror movie, but it's a horror movie in the sense that you do have those moments where you do see graphic things that happen to people, but also it has the unbelievable parts that are just like, what am I watching? Which is, I mean, it's always funny to see all that stuff. And yeah, I did enjoy that. But as I was saying, the way I saw the movie was very interesting. I didn't really realize what was happening until later on, which I thought this is probably how it should have gone in the movie. But for a lot of people who saw this in theaters or saw this poster, they were already tipped off that something was going on. Here it says they're not human, but they hunt human women, not for killing, but for mating. And so I guess a lot of people were going into the story, seeing it for the first time in the 1980s, knew exactly what this was about. Anybody buying the DVD, they knew. They were like, "Oh, okay, so we see what this is about." But I was clueless because all I heard was "Humanoids from the Deep." You need to see that movie, and I was like, "Okay," and it became available to see, and I was very surprised. So one of the girls, the beautiful girl Penny, that was attacked in the beginning of the movie is pregnant, and unfortunately, she is with child with one of these creatures, but they think it's going to be a regular birth, but it's not. It's this creature here, which is very interesting. This kind of reminds me of the miniseries, how they had that one scene where there was a baby alien that just kind of came out and looked a lot like this, right? And so pretty much sums up the movie as the credits roll around. So now we are going to be dealing with the second wave of these creatures doing their worst to society. It's just, it's really great that that's exactly how this movie ends. If given today, it could really update that and spice it up a lot more. This is a perfect movie for remaking. There were two remakes, and I feel like this could be a great story today. The thing is, with all of the cheeky humor in it, that really was like just because it was schlocky. Are you going to get the same bang for the effect, or are we making truly a horror movie? And do we want all that exploitation in it, or do we want it more subtle? We want it more intellectual. Who knows? Let me know what your thoughts are about this. Let me know your thoughts about this movie if you've seen it, and if you enjoy it, if it's silly fun to you, and or if it's something that's offensive. Let me know. I enjoyed it. If I was going to give this a score, I would give it a. Hmm, I would give it a 6.8. it loses traction when you start breaking down a lot more of it. There are a lot of faults in it, but I think ultimately I did enjoy this movie for the cheeky fun of it, and also the fact that they did have both the exploitation and the kind of like they were trying to show a really a really successful doctor and capable mother, really take charge and beat some monsters. So we have both things kind of happening at the same time. A movie that fights itself. I love it. I love it. Who will win at the end? I don't know. I don't know. But it was a joy to watch a movie with so many ideas swirled in there. Just really a big hodgepodge of ideas that was really fun to see. I had fun with it. Well, guys, I do wish you well, and I am so glad to be able to talk to you about this movie. I hope you guys will leave me some really exciting comments about what you think of Humanoids from the Deep. And also, I wish you a great day. You have a good one. Take care. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye.